Welcome to Quake 4, one of the most mediocre video games I have had the mispleasure of playing. Quake 4 was released on the 18th of October 2005, and something that may become very clear later in the video is that this game was not developed by id Software themselves. Most of the game was in fact developed by the studio Raven Software, who many of you may recognise as the developers of games such as Heretic, Hexen, that one Wolfenstein game that's kinda weird, and of course, most notably of all, X-Men Origins Wolverine. I'm just joking, it's Call of Duty. And again, that part will also become quite clear in the video later on. In terms of review scores, Quake 4 actually didn't do that badly, or at least to my knowledge it didn't. And most critics didn't really mind the game. But honestly, as you can probably tell, I do not like Quake 4. I did purposely try my hardest to stay away from the general public opinion of the game, up until playing it myself, as I kinda wanted to form my own opinion instead of following along with the crowd, as I kind of had a feeling I wasn't going to like Quake 4, but I didn't want to just end up saying the same things that everybody else says about Quake 4, as this is probably the reason why a game such as Doom 3 gets so much hate, when a lot of people haven't even played the game. But so this video isn't just a huge bundle of hate and negativity, I am also going to go over the few things that I did actually quite like about Quake 4, because while most of the game did feel like a quite poor experience, there is a few things that I actually do really like about it. So, while there's not many things I can commend Quake 4 for, there is certainly a few, as is usually the case with games that I don't very much like. First of all, this opening segment is really cool, for the most part. This bit with the Marine floating around in space, only for you to realise that he's actually dead amongst the wreckage of what appears to be a fallen spaceship. I do also like this bit that's also in the introduction, where you're almost woken up in the middle of all the chaos that's going on around you. One of the things I like the most about Quake 4 is that it kinda gave us a more down-to-earth perspective of things, and it shows us what the war with the Strogg really is, outside of the view of someone who can single-handedly kill the Strogg leader and most of their army on his own, such is the case in Quake 2. Like, that whole concept is really good, but it's just had such poor execution. In terms of weapons, I actually did really like most of the game's weapons. They're creative and unique, and they also felt quite good to use. They had this upgrade system that I kinda felt was a bit useless.
Here, Marine, you're gonna need this. The extended clip should help in taking down the squibs.
Except in terms with the nail gun, which felt like it was trying to be the Needler from Halo, when you eventually got this upgrade that helped the needles home into enemies. Much like the weapons, the enemies are also pretty cool and interesting, at least in terms of the way they look, as sometimes I feel they can be a bit cheap. But this game's cheapness is something we'll get into a bit later in the video. Overall, the best part of this game was 100% without a doubt this bit with the zombies. Or sorry, they're not zombies, as this guy in the game told us.
There are freaking zombies down here. I just killed one, but it bit me. Shit, I need a medic. These aren't zombies, they're partially Stroggified Marines. This is some kind of dumping ground for botched transfers.
They are in fact effectively failed projects of the Strogg trying to turn humans into Strogg. It's basically the ones that didn't work, and it makes for a pretty unique area in the game. I thought it was really cool when I shot some of the shotgun zombies' legs off, only for them to start crawling towards me in desperation to try and kill me, and even leaping towards me. However, other than that, I really don't have much good to say about Quake 4, as I think it's time we move on to... Right as the game started, as you already know, I did enjoy a bit of the introduction, for about 30 seconds, until I realised that this game's intro is almost ripped right out of Halo. Like, taking inspiration from something is one thing. For instance, Halo did in fact take a lot of its intro from Aliens. However, in Halo's case, it wasn't trying to be Alien. Quake 4 feels like it's had a pretty bad identity crisis where it can't figure out whether it wants to be Doom 3, Quake 2, Call of Duty, or Halo. And with the Halo thing, it's very obvious that this game was made to compete with Halo, as it came out around the time that Halo was just getting big and starting to dominate the market. I mean, they even have this guy who I thought was going to be a Sergeant Johnson type character for the rest of the game. But instead of giving me an inspirational speech such as,
I don't care if it's God's own anti-son of a bitch machine or a giant hula hoop, we're not gonna let them have it. What we will let them have is a belly full of lead and a pool of their own blood to drown in.
He was more partial to the idea of calling me a maggot, in a very cheesy fashion.
Alright, you maggots, haul ass or die!
Oh yeah, but it gets worse. Because this game is the Ronnie Coleman of video game jank. It's Janky Coleman.
Yeah, buddy! Wait!
Not only does this game want to be Halo, but it also wants to be Call of Duty. COD games often have these on-rails turret sections, tank sections, and all these kinds of bits that are actually really fun in Call of Duty games. This game also has those. Like I said, these are sometimes pretty fun in Call of Duty, but all times they're in Quake 4, they are not fun. They are so horrendously janky and unresponsive that it actually got me killed sometimes in this game. For example, the tank. The tank is impossible to use when it's not on a flat surface, because if you try and move, your aiming is so off and you can't see a thing. But then if you stay still, you end up dying. The mech is also extremely irritating, as it just feels incredibly clunky and unresponsive to move around. And even the on-rails sections are horrendously bad too. How can you mess up an on-rails section in a video game like this? They just feel so disorienting, and they kind of made me feel a bit dizzy when I was done doing them. And it was also incredibly hard to hit anything when trying to do them. And honestly, at some point of the game, I genuinely forgot that this was a Quake game. And not in like a Doom 3 kind of way, where people just say it doesn't feel like a Doom game as an excuse to hate it. Like, I genuinely do not feel any semblance of Quake in this game at all. With Doom, you can understand what they were trying to do. The original Doom games could be taken as if they were meant to be Doom 3, however they just wouldn't have the technology to do so back in the 90s. But with Quake, this is so obviously not what it's supposed to be. Quake is about fast gameplay and always has been. I mean, even in the original Doom, it almost feels as if auto-run was never supposed to be on, whereas in Quake, it was. Quake is meant to be a fast game. That's what it's always been known for. To be fair, Doom has always been known for that too, but I don't think that was their original intention. Whereas with Quake 4, I really don't know what they was trying to do here. Even if this was its own game apart from the Quake series, it would still be pretty mediocre, as it's full of janky moments and just parts that don't work properly. I ended up not beating this game. Not because it was too difficult, but because I honestly just got sick of it. I'm fine with the game being difficult, but because of all the jankiness and cheapness to its gameplay, I really couldn't play it for any longer. I was honestly getting sick of it. I got about 7 hours in, just after this boss fight with the guy who used to be the medic, who then got strogified into this thing. And after I finished that fight, I was done. I do not like this game in the slightest. In fact, no, that is a lie. There is some pretty cool parts of this game, but they are few and far between. I mean, at least the Quake 2 remaster just came out, and if you'd like to find out if it's good, then I recommend clicking this video right here.